In the previous chapter, Ken William discovered he was chosen by Mr. Beginning and Mr. End for a cosmic experiment involving reincarnation. Ken's curiosity and skepticism led him to question the being's motives and his role in their plan. As Ken stands on the brink of a life-altering decision, he seeks to understand why he was chosen and what unique qualities he possesses that intrigue these cosmic entities. Let's find out what revelations await Ken in this chapter as he delves deeper into the mysteries of his selection and the nature of his impending reincarnation adventure. Chapter 4. Let's do it. Intrigues you how? Inquired Ken, his curiosity piqued by the enigmatic beings before him. Mr. Beginning leaned forward, his voice low and steady, carrying the weight of omniscience. We've been watching you your entire life, Ken. Every decision you made, every victory and setback, all painstakingly documented in the fabric of your existence. His gaze pierced into Ken's soul, making him feel exposed and vulnerable. You were always different from your siblings, Mr. Beginning continued, his tone a mixture of admiration and pity. The brightest are often the most burdened you see, and the most driven. You witnessed your mother succumb to cancer, and instead of drowning in grief, you channeled that pain into a relentless pursuit of knowledge. You dedicated your life to finding a cure for cancer and many other ailments that plague humanity. Ken felt a sudden tightness in his chest as the memory of his mother's passing resurfaced. The pain, though dulled by time, still lingered like a phantom ache. I couldn't save her, he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. But I could try to save others. It was the least I could do to honor her memory. A wave of nostalgia washed over Ken. He vividly recalled the countless hours spent hunched over microscopes and beakers, the relentless pursuit of knowledge that had consumed his waking hours. The sting of loneliness was a constant companion, the price he paid for his unwavering dedication. Yet, he wouldn't trade his path for anything. There was a profound satisfaction in the act of creation, in pushing the boundaries of human understanding. Did you ever regret it? Mr. Beginning asked, his form shimmering with curiosity. The sacrifices you made, the life you could have had. Ken paused, considering the question. Sometimes, he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. In the quiet moments, when the lab was empty and the world was asleep. But then I'd think of the lives we were saving and the families we were keeping whole, and I knew it was worth it. Mr. End, a being whose presence radiated an air of quiet observation, chimed in. Qualified in chemistry, botany, biotechnology, and genetics, he listed, his voice tinged with admiration. You were widely regarded as the century's genius. You even provided your results to the world for free, refusing to profit off of the suffering of others. Talk about a real-life Robin Hood of science, stealing from the realm of the unknown and giving to the masses. Mr. Beginning then said, You had an empire at your disposal as the heir of a multinational corporation, but you chose to work hard instead. You effectively treated cancer in its early stages before venturing out into engineering and robotics. It's not every day you see someone turn down a golden spoon to pick up a test tube. Ken smiled at the memory of his first successful bionic arm and the rush of excitement and satisfaction as it came to life. That arm, Ken mused, his eyes distant with memory. I remember the first time we fitted it on a patient, a young girl who'd lost her arm in an accident. The look on her face when she moved those fingers for the first time. It was like watching a miracle unfold. She even managed to give me a high five. Talk about instant gratification. Mr. End nodded, his form pulsing with what might have been approval. You gave her more than just an arm, Ken. You gave her hope, a future she thought was lost. In the end, you had an awful accident, he began, his voice heavy with sympathy, and were completely paralyzed. You then donated all of your fortune to orphanages and organs for the destitute before ultimately meeting the end. Pun intended. That accident, Ken murmured, his voice barely audible. I remember the irony of it. All those years working to heal others, and in the end, I couldn't heal myself. It was like a cosmic joke, but I guess the universe has a pretty dark sense of humor sometimes. Mr. Beginning's form shimmered with compassion. Yet even then, you thought of others. Your last act was one of profound generosity. Ken listened intently finally, after a long silence. He broke the tension and asked, his voice barely a whisper, "So, you are giving me this chance because I lived a good life?" Mr. Beginning's response was unexpected. You had no friends, no girlfriends, and you never married or had children of your own. You only had your research. Except for your older brother, nobody cared about you. Aside from your elder brother, no one attended your funeral besides orphanage workers and recipients of your organs. Your other siblings likewise did not attend your burial because they were furious with you for giving away your inheritance. I guess they were hoping for a better late than never inheritance scenario. Mr. N concluded by declaring, "Your life was anything but good." I always told myself that the work was enough, Ken said softly. The lives I was saving were worth the sacrifice. But sometimes I wondered what it would be like to have a family, to have someone to come home to. Mr. Beginning's form pulsed gently. The path of greatness is often a solitary one, Ken, but that doesn't make your journey any less meaningful. You may not have had a personal life, but you certainly had a lot of lab time. Ken went silent for a minute, reflecting on all the things he had missed in life. He groaned and added, "Someone had to do it." He stopped and then added, "So are you giving me this chance because of things I did?" "Yes and no," Mr. Beginning uttered. "We are offering you this chance because of the change you brought to the world, and we hope you will bring similar changes to your next world," he continued. Mr. N chimed in, his voice filled with empathy. "Do you realize how many people's lives you've changed? You don't know since you never met the people whose lives you impacted. You were always quite private until the end. The orphanage alone has impacted the lives of more individuals than you have met in your entire life. It was a chain reaction. The people you saved selflessly never forgot you, and they spread your kindness to others. The child who acquired your eyes will eventually become a renowned scientist like you, saving more lives than you. All of this started with you, which is why we are providing you with this choice." Ken felt a wave of emotion wash over him, threatening to overwhelm him. "I never knew. Thank you for telling me this," he said quietly, his eyes filling with tears. Mr. Beginning and Mr. N smiled at him, knowing that their decision to honor him was well-deserved. Ken had given up everything for the sake of others, and now he was finally being recognized for it. "So, are you up for it?" Mr. N asked, his voice filled with anticipation. "Ready to trade in your lab coat for a hero's cape in another world?" Feeling the weight of the decision before him, Ken inhaled deeply. Finally, with a broad smile on his face, he said, "I am in. Let's see what you have in store for me. Let's do it." As the words left his lips, Ken felt a sudden shift in the air around him. The void seemed to pulse with energy, and he could feel the very fabric of reality bending around him. Links to the other chapters are in description.